Okay, so one of the first question that we have here is, does it work with Outlook web app? Unfortunately, no. The Outlook, the OWA is extremely difficult to try to create an add-on for, and we did look at it, but we were not able to support that. So certainly for now, it's just strictly Outlook, and it's Outlook for Windows only. We're also not able to support Outlook for Mac. That question has come up as well. Again, these two programs are coded very, very differently from the basic Outlook, so we were unable to support those particular versions. The next question is the add-on supported by the client side if they're running a Citrix environment? That I'm really not sure about, so we will take note of your question, and we will send you the answer afterwards, so we will certainly look up that information for you. Terminal service environment, same thing. The Outlook server section has to be installed on the Modusgate server itself, so it has to work within a LAN environment. So I don't believe we can work through terminal services, but I will have to double check that. I'm not 100% sure. Next question, can we get a copy of the PowerPoint presentation? Yes, I'm aware of some of you joined our session a little bit late, so we have recorded the session and we will make it available on our website. The question, next one is, will it work with Outlook 2010 64-bit when it is released in June? And how about a 64-bit 2007 too? Well, right now the 64-bit 2007 does work. The 2010 64-bit will work in June when it comes out. And the final question that I see here so far is, you listed an Exchange server as a requirement, and why? Well, we designed this program to work with the majority of our customers' environments, and the majority of you do use Exchange on the back end with Active Directory. So this program was specifically designed to be sent to or installed on the client side through the use of Active Directory GPO. So in order to support that, you need to be using an Exchange server. Now, we can take a look at potentially supporting other environments in the future. Right now, this is version 1, so we're starting with what the majority of our clients use, and we can certainly take your questions or suggestions for change into consideration. Can it be deployed without a GPO? No, not right now. That's the way it was designed for. Again, this was for our initial version. This is the way it was designed. Will this program work with Japanese double byte characters? Well, right now, what we've done is translated the user interface into both French and English. But in future versions, we will be translating into all the languages that we currently support through webmail and WebQuarantine. So I believe there are 14 languages, including Japanese. So eventually, yes, the user interface will be supported. It depends on the user's regional settings on their computer. So whatever they see come up on their screen, their version of the operating system, whatever languages they prefer to work in, we should be able to support those, just so long as it's one of the languages that we currently support through WebQuarantine. There's another question here. Can users view or edit their whitelist, blacklist from this add-on? Not at the moment. They can use the direct controls through Outlook to add senders to their whitelist and blacklist, but future versions will allow you to actually view the list of whitelist and blacklisted senders as well. For version 1, we did not include any of the settings. We didn't port those over because that's something that users don't usually look at or change as frequently as they do the actual message manipulation. So we focused on that first, just to provide them with the most basic controls. And then as time goes on, we will be adding more features, including access to trusted senders, including access to their filter settings. And some of the other questions that I received, One of the things that I mentioned is that we're not actually changing the Modusgate structure. So that means that we're not changing any of the features that you currently have. So we're not removing your quarantine reports. We're not removing access to web quarantine. So this actually ties in a little bit to that last question where someone was asking if they can view or edit their whitelists and blacklists. You still have access to your web quarantine. People can still log in and see the list that way. And again, with your quarantine reports, we are not automatically disabling those for users. We'll leave that up to the users to decide whether they want to continue receiving those or not. So they can still continue using those functions through the quarantine report as well if they want to view the content. One of the other questions was, do we allow attachments and quarantine messages to be viewed within Outlook? And the answer is no. We're not actually downloading any messages. They're just looking at the header information. So they're not able to see the actual content of the attachment, but they can see that there is an attachment, and eventually they'll be able to see what the name of the attachment is, so that they'll be able to see what type of file it is and determine whether it's there by mistake or not. One more question. Someone wanted to know about, I guess, performance issues. They had asked, they have a user who gets about 300 to roughly 2,500 spam a week, and will it impact Outlook at all? Where you might potentially see a little bit of an impact is the very first time that you connect to Outlook, the Direct Quarantine folder. It might take a few seconds for Outlook to synchronize the message list with the quarantine database. So when you open up Direct Quarantine for the first time, depending on how many messages that you've got stored in the quarantine, and could say somewhere between 500 to over 1,000 or whatever messages that are actually stored in the quarantine, it'll take a few seconds to synchronize and to bring up the list. But once that's done, then the access is really, really quick. And as I mentioned, we worked as hard as we could to try to reduce the potential impact on Outlook as much as possible. So we synchronize the messages in the background. So you could be working elsewhere in Outlook in your usual inbox or other folders. You will not see any delays in doing normal message operations. It's only when you click on the quarantine folder itself that you'll see the list refreshed and you'll get a live view. Final question is, will it cost extra to have this feature, or will it be part of the Modusgate updates? There is a cost related to it. There is a pricing list, and as I mentioned, we will be posting this webinar on our website, so you'll be able to review the list and see the costs. Next question is, someone's still a little confused about the exchange requirement. Does Modusgate need to be able to directly connect to, so I'm just reading the question here. Does Modusgate need to be able to directly contact the exchange servers? We have 200 plus domains who have routes to multiple different exchange servers. Well, that might be a little bit more complex. As we mentioned, the program only works within the LAN. So if you've got extra exchange servers on outside of your own immediate network who are connecting through a WAN environment, unfortunately we cannot support those, certainly not for this first version. Now this is something, again, that we can take into consideration and look at it for the future. But for this immediate version, it needs to be all within your own network. So you install the Direct Quarantine server service directly on your Modusgate server. For those domains and the Exchange server that are directly within your own network, within your own LAN, you can push the client side to your users, and it will install on the user's local machines, so that when they open up their Outlook, they can start using and seeing the Direct Quarantine settings. For those users who are outside of your LAN, they can continue using the web quarantine and the quarantine reports. And whoop, one more question. Does direct quarantine support dumb questions? I'm not sure if you're talking about end user questions. This is a slightly different approach for us to be able to build something for end users. I think our support guys are somewhat prepared to be dealing with questions directly from end users, but we will certainly try to get them to contact their own administrators directly first. We will be supplying information to the users about what this program is, what it does. When I was showing you the folder setup within Outlook itself, there are actually two folders there. The root or mailbox folder will contain a how-to so that users can see a description of the features, how they work, and hopefully that will help to reduce some of the questions for the admins. So if there are no other questions, we'll wrap this up for today. So I'd like to thank you all for joining us and for your time and for your interest in this product. And we certainly hope it meets your needs, and we hope that your end users will enjoy using it. So have a good day.